After a couple early goals, things have slowed down just a bit, but hold on, 1-0 will take the lead here for Ephrata as they look to tie up the series. With the op in hand, able to find those shots and dash to safety, but now maybe a ninja defuse coming in here as well. They'll step up at halfway. They might have been able to get it all, but Solo finds the first one. Back to a 1v1, but do they know it's halfway? I don't think they do, and with that, the clutch defuse comes in.
The other end of some of these trades goes for up B and getting juggled to the top of the stage, uses the up B for the recovery, and hang on a second, just gets caught out for it. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. It's Thursday, it's Kaizo, it's Spicy. You already know what it is. It is Smash Bros time, and today we have another exciting matchup for you guys, this time between East Valley Red Devils and Rogers Varsity Smash. And Spicy, it's been a bit of a rough season so far for East Valley, but this is absolutely the time to turn things around.
Oh, definitely, yeah. You have two teams here, kind of opposite path, opposite trajectories. East Valley, as we mentioned, having a rough start to the season so far. But hey, last few weeks here, definitely the time to turn things around. You never know. You've seen some teams with some late season magic in the past. And don't let records fool you. We've seen teams who have been on fire catching on at the end of the season, as well as just being way better than their record shows. Rogers, on the other hand, though, they're in a spot contending for a playoff potential here, but you gotta get the job done. You can't be going easy on teams who have quote unquote a worse record at this time. You could see some underdog upsets happen here. Definitely a lot still to play for at this point in the season.
Rogers coming in 4-2 into this week, whereas East Valley Red Devils are 1-4. But you know, Spicy, you can't have a Cinderella story without a bit of a rough start. Just like you can't have a broadcast here with the two of us without Zotac. So we do want to give a huge shout out to Zotac Gaming for helping us to power today's stream. It's thanks to their incredible support that we're able to bring this broadcast to all of you guys at home and help us showcase the amazing esports talent that we have here in the Scholastic scene. So everybody, make sure that you show your appreciation for Zotac Gaming by giving them a shout out on social media, and make sure that you join their community on Discord as well. And don't forget to use the hashtag #PoweredByZotac or hashtag ZotacUSA when you post. And again, that is ZOTAC, just as you can see it here underneath me. And Spicy, I think with that said, we should be ready to get underway. And you were mentioning, you know, this is the time to turn things around. Rogers, definitely playoffs in their sights, moving in that direction, definitely have the postseason in mind. What does the atmosphere feel like for East Valley coming into this one? It feels almost to me like you'd sort of be playing with house money here at this point.
Kinda, yeah. If you're East Valley, knowing what we're at this season, it's like pretty much every game really does start to matter, like even more than it has in the past. This is really though where you start to really build off the experiences you had and all those losses, all those results that previously they did have one win on the season, if I remember seeing, and we're going in with a Sora Inkling matchup right off the bat. Really interesting dynamic here with both of these characters. Start off with Inkling being representing John Rogers, it looks like, and East Valley having the Sora player.
East Valley going to be repping the Boingo or Boingo Cat tag, easy for you to say. Whereas, like you said, across the way, John Rogers have the Myrmidon. And this is a bit of an interesting matchup for me, if nothing else because it's, you know, two different tales of this game's history, with Inkling kind of being one of the first emerging high top-tier characters very early on, whereas now Sora, late into this game's lifespan, especially overseas in Japan, this is a character that really starting to come into their own.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Sora, a character who only gets better as the game develops, where you really start to see the combo game really start to really just be refined, and you see so many great things here. Both these players are pretty even so far. We talked about how Inkling just has fallen in terms of viability, hasn't been the most
Sure.
common character nowadays, but still has the potential to really make something happen here. I think Inkling's one of those underrated characters in a sense where if you don't know what to do against it, you will get caught sleeping, especially when you go into pretty simple game plan strategy, just like the roller here that Inkling has, and a lot of just working around the ink mechanic.
Well, speaking of reliable tools, how about those triple dashes from the Sora, which we've seen quite a bit so far in this one. No leads developing just yet. It's actually just about dead even between the two fighters, as they are nearing or crossing that threshold for kill percent. And this would be quite the statement to make, quite the beginning of some momentum for either one of those teams, and it will be Boingo Cat, that is once again East Valley, who's going to get that one. But not to be outdone, John Rogers talking about the roller. They hit the roller, they hit the F smash, and that'll even things back up.
Talk about just reliable moves here. Sora's up B, such a strong and reliable kill option. And then the roller into F smash here from John Rogers. Typical, prototypical moves you are seeing from both of these sides. You're seeing a lot of use of the side B here from the Sora. Pretty good option there. Really just a lot of usage of these specials. Sora does have quite a few decent B moves in their arsenal, so can definitely get some nice mileage. But overall, this game has been relatively and super close. You've just been watching it. It's been back and forth, and the percentages have been virtually even, and here we are on the second stock. It really does feel like anyone's game.
It was East Valley that very briefly got off to the stock lead and was evened out pretty quickly across the way by John Rogers. Seems to me that John Rogers really have the better end of this one in the second stock and beginning to apply some of that pressure with these back airs, forcing the Sora off stage. I think that large part of the game plan for the Sora here has been those side Bs, so it feels like feast or famine whether or not those will end up working out. Rogers is off stage here, will have to recover, gets back into the center of the stage and hits the Sora off again. That's a good ink mine there, and goes for the berry, can't quite find it. Is not going to be safe on shield, so an F smash will get it done.
Yeah, I love this, the reliability there, just using consistent options. And speaking of, Inkling gained the up air, and this is another just such a close matchup here. Nice opening combo here from this Inkling player to get a nice 40%, now tacking it on up to 51. Sora immediately though responding with some of those specials once again, trying to get something going, but the look at that up tilt into up air. The Inkling now here for John Rogers is trying to maybe put things away, already up to a decent damage lead, might be able to secure this final stock soon.
Does get the Thundaga there, so that'll tack on a little bit of percent, and then another side B there to continue to work their way toward equality. But not to be outdone, Rogers have control of center stage and forcing the Sora into the center. A bit of a weird interaction there, as this Inkling starting to really move around a little bit more and waiting out these side Bs. Roller can't quite punish that one, but a good parry that time around. Gets the berry, plenty of time to run up and hit that up smash, and finally it goes in the direction of Rogers High School. It was a very long game, very close down to the wire, but they do manage to pull apart at the end. In Spicy, it really seems to be that they just figured out the game plan of the side Bs from the Sora and started to punish them appropriately.
Yeah, it's really just about appropriate punishes here, and I love just being able to learn the player's habits, and that's such a great thing to see at all levels of Smash here. And I think Inkling is a character that is really good at reading these punishes and just being able to adapt on the fly here. Roller is such a great punish option. We were able to just get the berry and then get a strong follow-up with multiple of Inkling's smash stacks having high damage. I also just really want to shout out Encrypted's usage of just Inkling's movement overall. Like, Inkling as a whole, we saw this really at the beginning of Smash Ultimate, where that dash and like the dash dancing is just such an integral part of Inkling gameplay, just because of like how like elusive and how evasive you can be. And it's just such a great thing to see, like at all levels of play, just seeing Inkling just moving around with the dash, knowing how it just gets so many options off of it, and then eventually getting to a game here.
And the Rogers team, not unfamiliar with some of these more impressive seasons. This will actually be their 4th year doing esports at the school, and of those 4 years, 3 times that they've made it to states for Smash. And on top of that, their team captain went to the States last year. 4 out of their 4 varsity players are active in the local scenes and the tournaments. A lot of good practice being done between these players on the Rogers side of things. So a lot of good experience under their belts as well. And that's the sort of thing, Spicy, really starts to rear its head toward the postseason when other teams start to run out of steam or have difficult time figuring out matchups in clutch situations. You can tell the veteranship of this Rogers squad at Inkling sort of chewing their way through the matchup and figuring out what was going wrong, how you could appropriately fix it. Doing an excellent job of coming back into that one even after losing the first stock a little bit early on, making sure that John Rogers one step closer to earning their first points. And we are getting back underway here to game number 2. The delay apparently due to coming from production is due to them deciding the next stage and whether or not Kalos is legal in this format, Spicy, which that is a fantastic question. And it looks like the answer is going to be yes, because that's where we're ending up here.
You know, we've seen a lot of Final Destination this season, and Kalos kind of gives a similar aspect, but with having those 2 platforms on the side and also the walls towards the stage, I actually really like this pick here, just seeing the variety. And also, I think the platforms do give a lot of capabilities here for Sora as well, who do pick this counter pick option. Definitely interested to see how they go into this. And once again, very reminiscent of this first match. This first stock has been pretty even so far, but John Rogers now trying to see if they can take this first stock early instead of losing it like last time.
Yeah, East Valley got the better end of the first one, but ended up losing out game number 1, beginning to pile on some of that damage and work their way back toward even up against this Inkling. It really did feel like game number 2, the game plan was sort of figured out for Boingo Cat of East Valley. The question is, do they have any mix-ups? Do they have any new tools in the toolkit to surprise this Inkling with? Looks like a lot of the same, but seems to be a little bit more effective this time around. That F-tilt almost gets the job done for the Inkling, and instead the side B goes directly into another one of those ink mines. Can't quite get the punish on the side B, so instead it'll just be another edge trap here for John Rogers.
And once again, you're looking at a situation where these percentages are super high up, and both of these players are going to have a multitude of options to take this stock, as the Inkling demonstrates beautifully with the back throw. Still at 123 though, and Sora definitely has the buttons to make something happen here and just even it up. And that's been the theme of this set so far, where it's been really even up until like this last stock or so. So now it's a matter of can this player here from East Valley start to bring it all the way back. It's only a 155 percentage at this time, so definitely still able to do so, and is gonna not secure the stock yet despite it being all the way to 167.
And you're not accustomed to seeing an Inkling living this long, barely skating away with their life, now up to 178 and maneuvering around some of those special moves. Unfortunately for them, they do get caught out by a smash attack, and that will be their first stock of game number 2. But a decent bit of a lead here. We'll call it 50-ish%, maybe a little bit more after this brief interaction. And actually getting this Sora, one of the more floaty characters, but not a particularly heavy one, a little bit closer to that kill percent. And it's a much slower game here from the Inkling. I mean, you don't typically think of Inkling as a zoner character, as somebody that wants to have full screen, but you can see that Rogers are very comfortable playing this one out a little bit slower and forcing the Sora to approach. And for what it's worth, I mean, the approach seems to be working quite well, as several interactions in a row go in favor of Sora and really get us back to the equality that we're accustomed to between these two players.
It's so close once again. You see the roller coming out now from John Rogers, and it ends up getting punished with the F-smash trade almost there. And then Sora from East Valley was able to take the stock over on the right side. Now, another change from what we saw from that first game. This time it was John Rogers taking the first stock, and then they end up losing it, but we're basically back to even now. Only a 15% deficit so far on this last stock. Make it virtually even, especially after that rapid jab side B coming out once again from this Sora, and then make that ×2. And it's just trying to play around with these specials and these buttons, just trying to see what they're able to do here as Sora tries to just stay alive now, and both these players, it's so close at this time.
Yeah, 70% on this Inkling. It feels like the gravitas shifting toward the Sora here as they get that Blizzaga and successfully take control of center stage. But they will be pushed back out to the side. Another scrap in neutral here. A lot of good value from that up B throughout this set. Unfortunately, that F smash doesn't quite do it. That'll be very high percent in that top left-hand corner. But Kalos, a very large stage. It's going to need a little bit more damage on either one of these players to be able to take that one away. Up tilt, trying to find it up here to finish things off. And the F smash in the wrong direction, Spicy. Myrmidon had a chance there, but unfortunately it'll just be another edge trap until now, until they catch him with that up air and finally take away that final stock from East Valley.
Like, yeah, once again, that was insanely close overall. Yes, it was a 2-0 in favor of John Rogers, giving them the first 2 points here, 3 points up here of the set, but insane. We were talking about it all the time. Each individual stock was coming down to the wire here, and just when we see one team like start to pull away, they are immediately brought right back to earth. And it's like one of the best things you can see here early on in this matchup.
Well, Boingo Cat gonna be seeing their way out. I have it on good authority that we will be getting a little bit of variety in the name selection for East Valley, whereas Myrmidon should be the representative for John Rogers the whole time. As you mentioned, Spicy, it is going to be 2 points going the way of John Rogers, and of course, as we've seen for a couple of weeks now, but just to give a good reminder to the folks at home, each one of these games is going to be worth a point value, and will be ascending in point values as the game ticks onward. We'll have 5 rounds of matchups between these players, so 5 1v1s, and I believe the last one will be worth 4 points. So every single time that you get points on the board, going to be a big value up until that last one, which of course will be worth the most. You got to make sure that you have your ducks in a row and everything set, ready to go for those final all-important matches. But a very solid lead here early on for John Rogers. I mean, like you said, it was very close. Feels like you could have flipped a coin and that matchup could have gone either way. But because John Rogers got the finishing touch on each of those 2 games, they'll be in a comfortable bit of a lead here as we get Rexade into the arena for East Valley and prepare for round number 2.
Now, really interested to see the characters that come out from both of these sides. But we also saw like there's a nice variety in terms of the stages. Like we haven't seen Kalos very often in this league, at least this season. We saw a lot of FDUC, a lot of Battlefield, but it's interesting to see Kalos being brought out here. Really, making use of the stage list here, which does have some nice variety here, and makes it really good to have that kind of thing overall. Really interested now to see like what are the options going to be from these players going into this. You know that John Rogers does have a small lead, but small, that's the big thing here. We've seen it before where teams will get it back to even pretty much here in this second matchup, but also have opportunity because then here in this format, the first 2 games we were talking about it, you can actually win the first 3. That gives you 7 points total in the first 3, but if you win those last 2, that means you can just clinch it on those 2 sets alone. The beauty of this format, the beauty of WSSEA Smash Brothers. So very hyped to see what we got coming forward when we eventually get a look into what characters are going to be brought in. We got Crom and Steve here for the second matchup.
I just love the way that the announcer says, Steve! And that will be our selection for East Valley. So a quick trip to the top of the tier list here for East Valley, or excuse me, for John Rogers, rather, who already getting to business. This is some of the most mechanically intensive Smash Bros. Gets at spamming that jab and walking forward with the wooden sword. Only get about 40% out of it before this Crom manages to find some footing and be able to play a little bit of neutral here. This is going to be a very tough matchup for the Crom. You end up off stage, that could very well just be a death sentence. So you really want to hold down neutral, hold down center stage, and force that Steve to not have a whole lot of space to work with.
Oh yeah, as a Crom player myself at one point, like you want to take away as much space as possible from the Steve. Crom just thrives being up close and personal here, especially with the speed of all of those attacks here and just the power that you're able to bring out now. Rexade trying to just stay alive here, and it's actually doing a really great job of keeping this stock so far pretty even overall. And now it's a matter of seeing what's going to be the finishing move here on this first stock. The up smash going to be the option, though, as that ends up taking the first stock in favor of John Rogers.
Yeah, nicely done there, and getting a good lead is very critical against something like this Chrom, who can be very explosive, but is prone to exactly this. You get off stage, death sentence, Spicy. That is another stock robbed away from the side of East Valley. And this, Steve, there's a reason why people think this is the best character in the game. Sometimes you just get to shut down the top tiers of the past and make them know that their time is now.
Oh, for sure here. I saw the jump immediately from the Chrom and knew exactly what was sadly going to happen from this Steve player. And that's just the perfect option there. Great use of that move, though, to take this stock here. And Chrom, especially when you get Rage, starts to become pretty scary overall and takes stocks insanely early on. But it's a matter of, can you just stay alive at this time? Already at 96%, you have to take 2 stocks here, and that up smash is going to come out, take out, and that's a JV3 here, and a great response now from John Rogers.
In a very emphatic fashion. Sometimes when you're playing against something like the Chrom that can really start to get going toward the middle of the match, get some momentum, and really feel like they're suffocating you, getting a lead, being able to play on your own terms, very, very crucial. So credit to John Rogers for successfully pulling that one off. And Spicy, I'm going to butcher this, but I'm going to take a shot at it anyway. It looks like the katakana for the John Rogers player reads Doshi Tosa Shikusu. So I'm going to expect every time that we're talking about them for the rest of this game, you better pull that out full syllables every time.
That's insane. I saw Steve, I see a Japanese player, my first thought was Amelia Aquila, and that's not at all what I thought was from the characters there. I just saw Aquila. That's how I am now at this point. I see Steve, I see Japan, it's like, yep, that's pretty much it at this time. And with some of the way they were playing, kind of reminiscent of Aquila, and that's a great compliment to have, especially at this point in this player's career.
Yeah, very early on, naturally, still in high school, and a swap here, as you said, going away from the Chrom, going toward the Robin, one of my favorite characters to watch in the game. Definitely not going to be ascending the tier list, we'll say, but getting some different tools to fight with the Steve, being able to play a ranged game a little bit better, not having as exploitable of a recovery. These are the kinds of things that you're really looking for against this Steve, just mixing things up, especially with how dominant game number 1 went. Don't hate the idea at all, but unfortunately, it does seem like the start to this game a little bit reminiscent of game number 1, as those 2 dirt blocks really serve as a separator between these two, and every time you cross that line, Doshi Tosa Shikusu has got some damage coming for you. How's that pronunciation?
That was a beautiful pronunciation and ends up leading to the stock as well. One of the more interesting dynamics about this matchup is that it's actually a bit of a resource game on both sides here. Robin does have to really watch the use of the spells as well as that Levin Sword, because both of those will run out for a brief period of time if things going. But at the rate this Steve is, they are just able to just take this and really just move on even more. They're already up an entire stock and doing even more damage here, has the diamond available, and they're just rolling over this Robin right now, and it's being really difficult here for this Robin to do much of anything, especially considering that, like as we mentioned, you're not exactly going up the tier list with the Robin selection, but you do have at least the capabilities. If you have the space, you might be able to take a stock here soon if you are this Robin.
No Levin Sword available, though, so those abilities not going to be hitting as hard, whereas the Steve only going to get better with time, like a fine wine. This character is very, very scary as the game goes on. But as you said, Spicy, I don't know how much longer this one's going to go on. Aelwyn running out, but they'll get the recharge on that resource, and not the way that they would have liked. Another stock lost here, and a potential edge guard set up by this Steve. The Robin manages to recover, but man, it does not look pleasant to try to land on this stage and face down this Steve, who still has all 3 stocks to work with, and putting the minecart once more back in the Steve blender.
And they're using the blocks to a beautiful extent as well, actually able to combo off of it too. Robinson a really far off minecart once again though, and there's the anvil, that's the dagger, and the 3-stock ends up sending John Rogers another 2 points here, and they're up 4-0 here after the first 2 sets.
And credit to Doshi for, you mentioned playing like Akala. I mean, that's not a compliment that is easy to come by in this stage of the game. Definitely reminiscent of some of that higher level Steve gameplay that we've seen where, you know, you just set up shop on one part of the map, and then as soon as somebody walks within your effective range, you dump out 30, 40, 50, 60 damage on their head and make sure that they don't want to break that zone anytime soon again. You mentioned the point total, Spicy, a little bit earlier on. Both of these 2 games worth 2 points for John Rogers, so it'll bring them up to 4. Next one going to be worth 3, so in theory, you could technically lose game number 3 for East Valley and still come back if you can win games 4 and 5. But with the point values going up every single time, you don't want to leave anything on the table if you can help it.
Oh, definitely, yeah. At this point here, you don't want to put yourself in that situation if you're East Valley and have to make a big comeback at the end and have to win those last 2 matches. Putting some damage here, getting this next set does a lot here, and it sets your next players up for a great spot as well, with a lot of momentum overall for this team. And that's economies, honestly, one of the best things they could go into this. Before we go into the next matchup, though, I do want to give a quick shout out to one of our other sponsors, LandFest, and thanking them for building healthy communities throughout gaming. With over 20 chapters across the US and 150 events plus per year, go to landfest.com and check out the Washington chapters, Infernoland and Emerald City Landfest to find an event near you. And meanwhile, we got a K-Rool and Little Mac matchup here today.
Brutal, man. This is these are 2 characters that beat up on each other and get beat up on in very drastically different ways. I mean, K-Rool, very exploitable offstage. Little Mac also exploitable offstage, but for different reasons. And of course, a whole lot of projectiles for this Little Mac to go through. But if you can break that zone, if you can get on top of this K-Rool, should be in favor of the boxer in pink. At least for now, things fairly even. There's a great tech chase, though, by Jarsberg from East Valley, putting John Rogers really on the ropes in this first stock, no pun intended. We'll get that side B. KO punches online, Spicy.
And you're watching the movement here that leads to that KO punch here. Jarsberg is moving like a boxer, and that's one of the best things you can do here as a Little Mac, where you are so exploitable off stage, but as long as you stay on stage, so many resources at your disposal when it comes to the aggressive offensive options. You have the dash attack, the multiple burst options, armor here on the smash attacks as well, and you're attacking on a ton of damage here so far. Down tilt also going to be a great way to open up this K-Rool, especially with that bigger hitbox here. Is going to use the KO punch to try and get back the stage. I love the idea, but unfortunately wasn't able to take it, and here we are now, 2 stocks apiece.
Man, I don't know why Sakurai hates Little Mac so much. Like, you're already making him use KO punch to get back to stage. Can you at least give it a little bit less end lag so you can actually use it as a recovery tool? Apparently the answer is going to be no, and apparently that stock just gets deleted. But the curse of Little Mac, you do anything off stage, even get a kill, and you will be losing your stock for it.
Now, the whole phrase of not an air fighter really comes in. Has the aerial counter on the K-Rool's attack, and unfortunately ends up losing the stock for it. Last stock situation, and these are both characters you don't want to be in a last stock situation with. Little Mac especially is so threatening here. The counter coming out once again as well. Counter from both sides now at some point too. Side B going to send his K-Rool off stage here. Setting up now for a really dangerous spot. There's a back throw though. Edge guard situation. You know exactly how this comes out, but nothing's going to end up being played out. Counters from both sides as well. KO punch also online. Counters again. Whiffs the KO punch, and there's a back throw, and this game is still going on.
Yeah, but not for much longer here, I say, as Jarlsberg manages to get back to the stage and John Rogers have to put away this Little Mac soon. The up smash is whiffed. The F tilt connects from center stage, and Spicy miraculously, Little Mac manages to make their way through that one. I thought for sure with how many times he was off stage he'd lose the stock, but shout out to Jarlsberg from East Valley, finally putting a gain up on the board for his school.
That's a big momentum shift, at least for now, for East Valley. Jarlsberg coming in, and first of all, landing the KO punch is already hype as heck, and that gets all of your teammates excited as well. But to also steal this game away pretty much, because this K-Roll, like, they were playing pretty solid, especially near the end, but to navigate all those situations where you're off stage as Little Mac without really having like a wall or anything to do, like wall jump off of it as well, like that's insane to see here from Jarlsberg. Great showing from them. That's the first game on the board here for East Valley as they try to take their first set and first points here today.
Feels like just a really high stakes game of rock paper scissors when you're off stage as Little Mac, because you throw out the right option, you know, probably like 60% of the time make it back. But if they know what you're gonna do, and I mean, we're not talking about a lot of options here, we're talking literally like a rock paper scissors number of options. I mean, you're just dead. Like, that is just the end of your stock. So shout outs to Jarlsberg for throwing, I don't know, rock, paper, scissors, whatever was the correct one in each instance, as we see another one there. Definitely the right call when you down B that one. Getting back to stage twice in a row with that counter, a rock, paper, scissors legend.
Yeah, you love to see the RPS strats starting to come out now. KO punch, though, is going to negate anything here that goes through shield, and that's going to take that first stock here. Now it's a matter of, can this Little Mac get back to stage? Unfortunately, they're not able to this time, as the Cannonball able to secure the deal here, and now it's basically another even game.
Really weird that both of these characters have super armor as well. You don't look at Little Mac and think, yup, that's a guy with super armor, but it is something uniting these two, as well as their prominence on the stage and exploitable tendencies off the stage. And Little Mac just reaches up and punches that Cannonball and get another good one off with the counter as well. KO punch once more online, ends up in the cannon though. Gonna have to throw out the right option. KO punch for recovery, and that up tilt will get the job done. Almost. Should have set up a kill option there. Instead, Little Mac goes flying back and forth across the stage, lands that up B and gets some good damage, but somehow this Little Mac's still alive and still fighting at 140%. Until now.
Insane. They are going to lose the stock there, unfortunately, commentator's curse. I think I've noticed that Jarlsberg has been using the KO punch more often for recovery than their actual up B, which is insane to see at this point. That up B at that point to almost take the K-Roll stock earlier on was actually one of the first times we saw it this entire set so far. Little Mac here at 42% on their last stock. A beautiful parry as well now from this K-Roll. And this is such a dangerous spot to be in. K-Roll at heavy percentage could definitely make something happen with this Rage. 156 as well. Going to be able to recover low. Not going to be hit by a charge down smash. Going for the back throw potentially there as well. And Little Mac going off stage. Scary spot. But here we are now whiffing the grab. Gets dash attack punish on instead here now.
K-Roll makes it back to the stage, but will quickly find the right side blast zone of Pokemon Stadium 2. KO Punch is online. It definitely won't do lethal damage, but could definitely rack up, I think it does 35, 40%, something like that. And he's quickly trying to tack it on. 15, beginning to make the... But spot dodging the KO Punch is a crazy play. And unfortunately, Jarlsberg, for all the theatrics, does not have enough left in the tank to make it back to the stage. So game number 2 goes the way of John Rogers, and we are officially split in set number 3, Spicy, 1-1 between these two teams.
Yeah, counter punches basically being thrown all over the place here from both sides. Doesn't matter if only one of them is playing Little Mac. What an awesome matchup we're seeing from both of these players here. You'll love to see like the aggressive tendencies as well as just playing around like the different options. I love how they're kind of waiting each other out with the counters, and the and just the guts to actually go for a spot dodge when KO Punch is online.
Yeah.
That could have been a devastating situation. That could have almost been a set turnaround right there. But here we are going to a game 3, and you'll love to see it here in this matchup.
And not only spot dodging the KO punch, I mean, they also parried an F smash at 140% on the ledge. Like, these are some scary, high risk, high reward kinds of plays. And it did give me, I don't know if you heard it, a little bit of a giggle to see the K-Rool just standing with his back to the ledge, just staring at the Little Mac. Because when I try to play online, that's how people play against me when I play Little Mac. And I'm just like, well, what am I supposed to do? Because if I go over there and I touch his shield, he's going to throw me off stage, back air me, and I'm dead at 0. So what am I supposed to do to approach that? But obviously, East Valley have a lot more training than I've got under the belt, and Jarlsberg had plenty of answers game number 1. We'll see, Spicy. There's enough left in the bag of tricks if this rock, paper, scissors legend can continue to pick the right call here in game number 3 and start to put some points on the board for East Valley. They've got a goose egg for now, but if Jarlsberg can walk away with one more game in this best of 3, then it's at least beginning to put something on the board for East Valley.
And the Doc Lewis recommendation here for Jarlsberg was that we're going to Smashville here in this rubber match now. And this is an interesting matchup as well. Pretty even, I think, for both of these players here. And I actually kind of like it as well for this Little Mac. I like having the center platform at this time to really just control center stage. And they're doing a great job of that so far. And already getting this K-Rool up to a 100%. There's another charge smash deck. Not going to get parried this time, but does get punished as a result. But still a hefty amount of percentage here on this K-Rool. You love the use of the tilts, the dash attack, because weave their way back in and kind of not overcommit on anything. And I love the use of the dash back and then going back in to get the dash attack. And this is almost at 100% lead already.
Yeah, looking very clean here in game number 3, right when everything's on the line. But, of course, this is still Little Mac we're talking about. Wow, that counter is brutal there, and KO Punch not expended. So has that one left in the bag for this next stock. They could get a little bit more damage. They would be able to land it. It's about to expire very soon. Gonna have to throw that one out. K-Rool recovers low. KO Punch gets thrown out. And unfortunately will not be able to land, but still quite a substantial lead here for Jarlsberg and for East Valley. Game number 3 when everything's on the line.
Yeah, so much is on the line here for East Valley, especially not exactly it'll be at elimination point yet, but this is going to be such a big turnaround for them if they're able to get this set. It's going to be able to recover from the depths of that stage. Not often you get to see Little Mac be able to pull, but they were able to do so here today, and now this is where things start to get bad. They lose their jump, not able to recover now because Smashville's platform isn't moving in this rule set. So here they are though, has a 100% lead to work with though, and now this K-Rool definitely starting to use a little bit more of this projectile play, and they're able to get this crown back as they are able to now. They might be able to steal this next stock pretty quickly here as they do just now.
Oh, what a volatile game between these two. 101% on Myrmidon from John Rogers. And they are thrown off stage, but only one stock remaining for Jarlsberg, the Little Mac. They've got quite a bit of damage left to do here if they want to pick up any points. An attack chase there with the dash attack into the up air will unfortunately put this Little Mac on KO Punch. Not when you would have wanted it. He throws it out. He doesn't land it. Now off stage once again. And this K-Rool's not going to make it easy. Forces the high recovery. And just as soon as you counted him out, the K-Rool comes back out of nowhere and keeps the streak undefeated for John Rogers as they pick up 3 more points in game number 3.
And great adaptations here from this K-Rool player. I love that they were able to recognize when the Little Mac was using their jumps, especially off stage, because like we know it, Little Mac's recovery is the most sad thing really about that character. It's just so difficult to get back on the stage, especially when you lose your jump at that point. And the K-Rool, beautiful job responding, able to steal it away there, and they basically take 3 stocks in a row, and that was insane considering the amount of pressure that the Little Mac was putting on early, getting that K-Rool to a really high percent on the second stock as well. And overall, great gameplay here as John Rogers now up 7 points so far.
keep in mind, we did say even if you lose all 3 of the first 3 games, you are still able to come back with wins in these last 2. That is the nature of the format. And each and every stock is going to be very critical here for East Valley if they want to walk away with any points and manage to begin to improve, we'll say, their season. It has been a bit of a rough one for East Valley, but everything has its tipping point. And while we have a second, Spicy, you know, I thought of something very obscure during that last game, but it occurred to me that the only characters that you can call playing neutral if you're just spamming smash attacks are Little Mac and Mr. Game & Watch. And I just think that's such a funny grouping that applies to.
That is, yeah, and they're like on opposite ends of like the tier list right now as well. Where that is pretty much like Little Mac's entire sense of neutral, and then Game & Watch also the same thing. We don't have that here today. Instead, we got Pyramithra from Prism here on East Valley, and then a Pokemon trainer now from John Rogers being Solande. Interesting matchup here, especially with, you're gonna see a lot of character swaps in the middle of the game.
That's actually a good point. We've got 5 potential fighters on the screen, 6 if you count the trainer herself, but I don't know, I don't think that anybody is really too bothered by watching her back there. As a good side B will get some more damage on the Squirtle, and there's the swap that we are talking about, going to this Ivysaur. A lot of players tend to do this around those mid-percents. You can fish for pretty early kill with some of these aerials, exactly like that. Up air catches you in the air, and sends you to an early grave. This Pyra did not last long. A lot of people swap back to Squirtle here to start getting some of those early percent combos and start to rack up the damage, but we'll see what John Rogers elects to do. It looks like Salandit preferring a little bit of a heavier body, a little bit more range instead.
It's interesting seeing how Ivysaur just ends up being played, because Ivysaur is just such a flexible character in a sense,
right.
And you're able to just use things like that, and the Vine Whip through the stage is so powerful there as well. He's kind of zoning out now with the Razor Leaf. You have the option to switch to Charizard at this time too, just to give that extra survivability, especially at 134%. Side B coming out from Pyra here, and now this Ivysaur in a really precarious situation is able to use the recovery beautifully, gets back onto the stage now, but the dash attack will come out, type advantage as well for this Pyra, and the Charizard comes out briefly as we transition back into Squirtle, and you see the Foresight come briefly into play to get themselves out of that combo.
Man, Foresight is so bogus, but you know, you gotta use the tools that you got in front of you, and throw out a side B there, see if that one lands. Answer's gonna be no, so a down throw will be the combo starter, but doesn't get a whole ton of damage. Still some decent stage presence from this Squirtle though. Just really all you can ask for against something like this Mythra that moves very fast. You have to be very careful not to get swept up in some of their own combos, just as this Ivysaur will do now off stage, making their way through the wall produced by that side B, and a high up B. The Prominence Revolt on the stage from the Pyra doesn't find a home, and it won't be anything lethal just yet, as we start to see some of the Razor Leaf coming out, a little bit more range being produced by this Ivysaur. Not willing to get too close to this Aegis, and in fact don't really need to, because that aerial gets the job done, and it's straight back to Squirtle.
Right back to Squirtle for this opportunity here. That's unfortunate. That's an interaction.
No!
You don't see that all the time. That was insane. We're selling at an even game. 0-0 here on this last stock, and we got 2 characters here who has an explosive combo game as well now. Prism here for East Valley, trying to make the most out of that situation now and try and get some extra percentage here. Back to the Mythra once again to try and just combo this Ivysaur, and now this time it feels like Prism has the lead here for East Valley, and they're starting to tack on some extra percentage here too.
Good down air there, and unfortunately, you can see the idea for John Rogers. They wanted to land, or excuse me, to grab the ledge, roll onto stage, but unfortunately, might have been holding down, might have been a little bit too far away from the magnet hands, but don't manage to grab the ledge. Instead, just that neutral air dodge as they descend to the depths of Battlefield, begin to give a little bit of a lead over here to East Valley, who, you know, things were Things were very different at different stages of that game. I really do think that things were starting to turn around for the Aegis as soon as that interesting interaction with the Squirtle side B hitting the Prominence Revolt and sending Squirtle off stage. That really felt like the momentum shift where everything was starting to feel Aegis from that point forward. But it never feels good to lose your stock to a situation like that. So commiserations, of course, to the PT for that unfortunate situation, but this is the kind of thing that you got to be ready for if you're John Rogers. You've got your eyes on the playoffs. You got to be willing to get up, dust yourself off, and get right back in there for the next game with a clear head.
Oh, for sure. When we eventually get into playoff action, like, the mental aspect of this game comes into play. Like, how do you respond after making mistakes? You're going to flub up some inputs. You're going to accidentally SD at times, but the response afterwards is really what matters here. What separates the good from the great is really just how you end up tackling that kind of adversity as well. So here now for John Rogers, you don't often see them in this situation tonight where they're behind in the set, but it happened as well in round 3 here. So another opportunity. We saw this before in that last set where it was Jarsberg from East Valley who was up 1-0, but then John Rogers was able to respond back here with 2 straight. Salandon might look to do the same here against Prism. Wondering what the options are going to be here, whether it be characters, whether it be stages here. Definitely have some variety, especially with the kind of characters. We saw 5 characters, pretty much just 4. We barely saw Charizard, but we have a lot of characters in play here. Definitely some interesting opportunities and some more interactions like we saw earlier that could just blow our mind.
Well, you know, I have heard from a reliable PT trainer that Charizard really should only ever come out if you're using him for recovery. Has very good vertical recovery, also has the Flare Blitz for good horizontal recovery. But past that, not really the best tool that you've got in the toolkit as a PT player, so can't discredit too much for not doing a whole lot of Charizard. And this stage selection as well could be a big one here, Spicy. We have confirmed throughout the course of this matchup between these two teams that Kalos is legal in this format. We've seen it once. We could hypothetically see it again here as we get underway for game number 2, set number 4 between East Valley and John Rogers. And the stage selection is not going to be Kalos, so a very brief feature from Kalos, and it'll go back into the map rotation until the next team remembers that it's available.
I'll say, we have seen, I think, at least 5 stages of this map list come out today, which is pretty awesome to see, just the variety. And really, all the players having their own different, like, map taste here as well. You'll love to see that here, really at any level of playing this match. Now, Talon City now, this is an interesting option here with the blast zones on the side, especially being pretty volatile here, especially in the moving platforms. And then here, where it's basically just Final Destination for an extended period of time, you are able to see now, oh, I thought we were going to see the water come out there from this Squirtle, which would have been insane now, but it's overall kind of reminiscent of what we saw in that first game where the PT was able to get out to the lead early on, but we all saw what happened at the end. It really just comes down to what happens in that second and that third stock. We'll see if it's a similar story this time.
Prism using a lot of the Flame Nova and man, I can never remember the Mithra version of the neutral beat, but both of those moves you don't see a whole lot of. Very punishing, very high damage. We'll see Flame Nova just here once more. Usually pretty punishable, very difficult to find a home for that move sometimes, so definitely credit to Prism for using every single tool at their disposal in this matchup. They're going to need every single one. Prominence Revolt from the top ropes really gets the job done there, and East Valley off to another early lead in this one. The Charizard will come out at least for the time being. You can only imagine it's to do, well, yep, exactly that. Forward smash and then swap to Squirtle.
Exactly what Charizard's here for. Get the stock, hit with a heavy move, and then you swap nicely into Squirtle, who comes in on a character who is at low percent and just easy food for combos now. And Squirtle has such a wide arsenal of moves that allows for that kind of combo game to really start to shine now. And you love the use of the falling aerials into the dash attack here, and the up tilt into Nair as well. Gonna respond with the F smash, but gets foreseen by that, and that's not what you want to be seeing here, especially now with the Pyre up. Prominence Revolt coming out and punishing the switch as well as Ivysaur is in a really dangerous spot.
Yeah, especially considering the type disadvantage, right? And he'll unfortunately get sucked up by the Flame Nova. There's that roll read for you. That'll take one more stock away from John Rogers, and only one required in addition if they want to pick up some points here and start to chip away at this lead. East Valley looking very, very good. Prism quite comfortable in this matchup. Game number 1 had some shortcomings early on, but ever since that weird interaction with the Squirtle side B, that seemed to be the momentum shifter to me, Spicy, and because of that, we're in a situation where very plausibly Prism can take away some points for East Valley and begin to shore up this deficit and start to get things back toward equality.
Yeah, and this would be massive if Prism is able to win this set here for East Valley. Side B coming out once again now again here from Pyra, and they're really utilizing the zoning capabilities that the Aegis has here. Not often seen, but definitely still a possible opportunity here. Waterfall coming out now from Squirtle, not going to take the stock here for Slanda, and once again trying to use that up B to take the stock, but Squirtle, that kill power doesn't come there from those specials, and unfortunately here it has to struggle to get this down, and watch that. That's the set. Down air into up smash, and that's a great move now, and here we are, East Valley. We were talking about this before. You could lose all 3 of the first sets, but if you win the last 2, you would come out on top. And we might have just alluded to a situation where this next set is winner take all for today.
Yeah, I don't know about you, Spicy. I've already seen the outcome of this one, so I was just kind of foreshadowing what's going on a little bit later on in the set. That's, of course, a lie for those of us at home, but I do think that it is kind of funny that this is the exact situation that we were building toward, that it seemed like was only plausible to happen. And now with 4 points left on the board between these two teams here in game number 5, both of the anchors of these two teams beginning to get ready and see who is going to take away this all-important final matchup in what is essentially a winner-take-all despite the point deficit.
You love to see that. Representing East Valley, you got Brilliant. And then from John Rogers, you got Funny Tune. Fun thing here about Funny Tune is that number 5 in Eastern Washington, if I saw that correctly. So being power ranked alone is already impressive. Being top 5 in your region, this is where the experience, like we've been talking about, really starts to come into play. Who do you want here in these moments? You want the players who will feel the most at home, feel the most comfortable. They've been here before. They're at the point where they can clutch up these spots here, and that's great here if you're John Rogers. Brilliant from East Valley, though. They've been looking for this all season, I feel like. They've been wanting to do something like this. If I remember right, looking at the records from East Valley, as long as they've gotten a point, which they did in that one win they got, they were able to win the entire matchup. So this could be another win here for East Valley. John Rogers has an entire playoff run that they were trying to secure. But hey, they got to win here today first just to really put themselves in that spot, and this is what you love to see here for WSSEA Smash.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And you know, WSSEA not a weak region either. So being number 5 ranked in the Washington area, very, very impressive. You know who else is in the Washington area is Seattle-built PCs, Spicy. They're the custom PC builders trusted by the pros, and since 2020, they've been crafting incredible rigs for world-famous esports players, content creators with millions of fans, and even the devs of your favorite games at home. And they want to work with you to create the perfect PC for your needs whenever you're ready. So if you're looking for a custom PC built by people who care, make sure you check out Seattle-built PCs at seattlebuilt.com. And thank you to Seattle Built for their continued support of WSSEA as we get underway here in game number 5, winner take all between Funny Tune and Brilliant. Shadow the Hedgehog versus Male Byleth is going to be the matchup that we get to see, and this one could be a long one.
Be a long one indeed. It's really a matter of how much of Sonic's gameplay are we going to be seeing here, because Funny Tune knows this for sure. Sonic is a very dynamic character at times, and also a character that will just stall out, kind of just play very hit and run. It's really player dependent here, and the top Sonics know exactly when to turn the needle on and look at that, and going into a more aggressive mode, it looks like, and able to get a huge edge guard onto Brilliant now as Funny Tune up on the first stock already.
Man, why is it that every time we hear about one of these phenom players in the high school scene, they're always a Sonic player? You ever notice that between now Funny Tune and before them
Sonic,
X Factor? Seems to be that everybody's playing the Sonic these days, but only a couple can play it at this level, and Funny Tune already looking very, very good here in set number 5, game number 1. And really, when I'm looking at Sonic and the separation between a good and a great Sonic, we're talking about being able to avoid hits and being able to convert stray hits into large combos. A lot of Sonics are pretty reliable at getting a stray hit and trading with the enemy, but it's really once you start to convert every single interaction into 20, 30, 40, 50 points of damage, that's when you start to get lethal, that's when you start to get scary, and it seems like Funny Tune has definitely got exactly that for themselves here.
For sure, yeah. And Sonic is one of those characters that it's so scary when you have the lead as well. Unfortunate, things like that will happen with the homing attack, but at this time, you still got 2 stocks as well, and you're really just putting on the pressure. And Sonic, when you are putting on offense, is just so oppressive here, especially against a character like Byleth, who really struggles to keep up in terms of that speed and has to really rely on power. And this Sonic is just moving all over the place.
Okay.
22 and all over now. It is just cutting down so much percent on the Brilliant.
And they do manage to get another fair off the stage, trying to go for the spring. Won't manage to get the Gimp, but they will catch that neutral get up with a back air, and that'll take away that stock from East Valley. And man, this anchor for John Rogers, Spicy, is looking like the real deal here. You hear about number 5 PR in Eastern Washington, you think, well, this guy's got to be good, but it is looking very formidable here in the twilight stages of this matchup between these two teams. It's going to be a very dig deep, find the correct answer kind of situation for Brilliant if they want to walk away with these last 4 points and take away the win from the clutches of John Rogers.
For sure, and like we've seen it before, but you can counterplay characters like Sonic. The big thing though is trying to just control the pace for your own. Sonic is one of those characters where if you let them run, you're not keeping up with them. If you let the Sonic control the pace of the game, then you're pretty much at their mercy for whenever they want to play aggressive and then whenever they want to play defensive. Really want to start seeing just the zoning capabilities here from this Byleth and kind of just getting any stray hit they have and chaining that into just bigger punishes. We've seen it, glimpses of it, where they were able to get some nice strings going for a little bit, but if they're able to turn those strings into stocks, this game too could be really interesting here. And I'm also curious, especially now, at this time, you're basically down to your last game. What do you bring out in terms of the stage as well, trying to see how do you counterpick this kind of player like Funny Tune?
It's a very difficult question, because usually the answer against Sonic is not get more space. Sonic does very well with a slower game with a lot more space to work with, but at the same time, I mean, that matchup really did feel like Byleth just was getting suffocated, need a little bit of room to breathe, and try to play around the range a little bit more. So maybe you do go to something that can open things up, give you some room to move around, maybe get a different platform configuration, try to shake things up, because Funny Tune looked very comfortable on the stage that he selected for game number 1. You gotta imagine that if we're sticking with the Byleth, which not guaranteed, but I would reason to say pretty likely here, you gotta start to play around some of those range tools, because I mean, my matchup knowledge for Byleth versus Sonic isn't the best, Spicy, but I gotta imagine that the main boxing tool Byleth has, which of course is that Nair, is not going to interact very pleasantly with the Spin Dash, which is of course the main tool that you'll see Sonic using a whole lot. So at that point, it feels like you're going for what, like maybe spacing with a tilt or trying to catch an approach with an aerial. The options that Byleth has don't really seem to be super great. But hang on a second, MK Leo in the building from Byleth to Joker. Hello.
I was thinking the exact same thing. The moment we said male Byleth in the first game, I'm like, okay, MK Leo. Then the switch to Joker. Now this is where things get really interesting here. You're kind of starting to match the tempo now, and especially start to have your own combo game now, which is so impressive here for Brilliant. And this is where you start to see a little bit. You see the opportunities, you see the attempts at loops with those aerials as well, trying to go for these big combos here and really just tack on some extra damage here, because if you're able to do that against Sonic, you are going to succeed, thrive at this time. But once again, Funny Tune just sees a character, it doesn't matter who it is tacking on a ton of percentage here, and until that Arsene came out there and the Tetracon was doing so well in just terms of being able to dish out damage.
Big Brother is over the shoulder, though. That meter is depleting pretty quickly. Manages to get the Sonic off stage. There's some decent damage, but the spring reversal and manages to barely avoid that F smash for the ledge guard. Fair off stage. Won't quite yet do it. Air dodge will buy some time, and they'll make it back with a little bit of grappling hook magic here is Brilliant. Looking a little bit better here in this matchup than with the Byleth. Not quite at lethal levels yet, but tacking on a lot more percentage and trading a lot more evenly with the Sonic more often than not. And an up smash there, even to create some stage presence. I mean, this Joker seems to be the real deal.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, you don't bring out Joker in this kind of situation unless you're confident in what you're doing here. Funny Tune doesn't care, though, and is able to take this stock now, but has 84% built on them already now. Brilliant can definitely find an opportunity to take this stock for their own here. Was trying to punish off that air dodge, wasn't able to get anything off of it, though, and now has an opportunity to try and make something happen. Funny Tune, though, has an edge guard situation lined up, goes for the homing attack, is going to whip, and Arsene is out, but you see the beautiful use of the air dodge there to get back the stage, and Brilliant is having a harder time just trying to get this edge guard.
Yeah, trying to land the finishing blow. A lot of what Arsene has available will be able to get it done. Up air is no small exception, and they will manage to take away a stock and still have a little bit of Arsene meter left to play with. They'll tack on 16% before this Arsene seems to be heading out very quickly and will do exactly that. Now even stocks between these two. Game, of course, in the pocket of John Rogers, so East Valley playing in a bit of a hole here, but looking a lot better than in game number 1. And with half that Arsene meter, I mean, one good Rebels guard would certainly get it done. You can get it the hard way as well, and that seems to be the X factor of this matchup, is how cleanly can you get the Arsene and how much value can you get while it is available. But he's kind of getting it done with the vanilla Joker right now, even going off stage, setting up an edge trap, but will get reversaled here. Stalls out there with the spring, and unfortunately won't be able to make it back. So the final stock for East Valley, and Brilliant has it in hand.
Now, Funny Tune is now looking pretty good at this time. We talked about how Sonic with the lead is such a scary character, especially if you're able to really just take away any space. Arsene comes out now. Big Brother is watching. Goes for the up air up top. Isn't going to be able to take the stock just yet. And I love the use of the up B, but unfortunately going to be getting punished now. And we're now in a last stock situation here. And this could be the chance now for East Valley to take us to another game, or John Rogers might have an opportunity here to just seal the deal now.
We'll see if the extension is in the bag here for Brilliant. 87% on this Joker. Lands one up air, can't find the other. And Sonic tries for a couple of their own, but can't manage to grab it either or. Now it is a small reset of neutral. You can tell that the nerves starting to tack on between these two players. An edge guard there, and he does still have the jump. Should be able to make it back. And a down air. Won't be able to get it done, but will make us hold our breath as this Joker gets back on stage and apparently just thought that he deserved it with the previous down air, because he goes back down there. He gives the game away to Sonic on that unfortunate execution error, and it's hard to say that Funny Tune didn't earn it with that fantastic performance on Sonic, not only in game number 2, but game number 1 as well.
And Funny Tune definitely deserved the win there. Obviously, you hate to see the ending interaction be the last thing in terms of gameplay for this set, because especially as that last game was coming near to an end, that game was so fun to watch. You really saw that Brilliant was putting on a lot of great gameplay there with the Joker, and I think it made a lot of amazing adaptations, and that was looking to be a phenomenal set overall. But here we are. Funny Tune does able to get the game, get the set, and clinches the win here for John Rogers 11-4.
And that'll push John Rogers into a very respectable 5-2 after 7 weeks of play. whereas East Valley Red Devils, they'll be falling down to 1-5 as the struggle continues, but definitely signs of life and sparks of brilliance from this roster. Prism in particular looking very, very good, and then of course in game number 1, that one went down to the wire between Encrypted and Boingo Cat, so tough to say that this is a team that goes into week number 8 with a 1-5 record, because a lot of strong players on this team, a lot of good performances, but unfortunately can't put enough of them together in the same week to walk away with the win.
I got 2 weeks left though if you're East Valley, so you saw the start of a turnaround, I feel like, today, which is a big thing for them, all coming down even just from the middle of this set. Overall, great showing from them and Sean Rogers. We talked about it. They knew what they had to do. They have to get the job done against these teams just to give them a spot to maybe clinch playoffs in the near future. 2 more weeks still for both of these squads. Real interested to see how they got going and what are they going to do to end out the season, especially with a potential run at states on the line.
Yeah, playoffs are just around the corner, but at least for the week, that is going to do it for us on the Smash Bros. Side of things. Thank you once again to Zotac Gaming, to Landfest, and to Seattle Built PCs for helping us put this broadcast together and bring all this great Smash Bros. Action to you guys. Shout outs to Connie and Taylor and everybody at Landfest for helping us to make sure that all the hard work is done so Spicy and I get to yell at video games, but we are going to send it off for now. We do have more esports coming up in the next week. Tuesday, April 29th, we'll be kicking things off for the week of esports with Rocket League at 4 p.m. PST, so make sure you don't miss that one, and make sure that you stick around next week for even more Smash Bros. But for us, that's going to do it. Good night, everybody. Have a good evening. Make sure you stay hydrated.